back of the rim. Got it! On the slam. Using Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
You've seen relatively little of Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn so far over the last couple of years. See him right here? Now you've seen as much of Kyrie in Brooklyn as people in Brooklyn, or the fans. He played around 20 games in 2020. Of course, the season went to hell. He did not play in the bubble. Played 54 games last year, which isn't that bad considering how many games there were, but he did miss a bit. A lot of people in Brooklyn missed a bit. Then he ended up going down in the playoffs, pretty much preventing them from making the finals. And now you're at risk of only seeing, actually, fans in Brooklyn are at risk of never seeing him. And we're at risk of seeing him for half the season. He would only play 41 games, and I'm going to guess, with the trend of the last few years, you would see him less than 41 games this year, at the current pace. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're pretty well informed, but if you're not, with the information we have right now, the man is not taking the vaccine. The most recent tweet we have, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in time, it said something like, God has me and my people. God is protecting me and my people. So that means he's probably not getting the vaccine, right? Okay, so no vaccine means, yes, he can practice with the Brooklyn Nets. Apparently they deemed the practice facility as a private office or something like that, so he can practice with them, which means they're not just going to be strolling that little monitor in with his face on it. But as far as games in Brooklyn, right now he will not be able to play. This proposes a pretty terrible situation. Okay, terrible is not the word to use for a team that has James Harden and Kevin Durant on it. That they're not in a terrible situation, but it doesn't put you in a great one, because do you remember around a month ago when Nick Wright, I believe it was, tweeted out that he heard news Kyrie Irving would retire if he were traded, or if the Brooklyn Nets attempted to trade him? Kyrie came out and called bogus on it, or I don't even really know if he called bogus. He just kind of called Nick Wright a clown, something along those lines. But with the events of the last month, it seems like that was kind of like it had some truth to it. I don't agree with Nick Wright a lot, but I had already kind of been on the thought pattern that Kyrie Irving would retire way earlier than we wanted him to. I don't know, just everything about his career, his mannerisms, the way he's talked about the NBA and his career in basketball. I've always kind of thought of a scenario where he'd be retired by around 2023. I don't know, but I just wouldn't be surprised. So it does not surprise me that, yeah, he signed in Brooklyn. He's with his friend Kevin Durant. That was a whole thing they put together. It does not surprise me that if they said, okay, we're shipping you to the Kings or Detroit. Cool. All right, then I'm just not going to play basketball anymore. I don't know his finances. He's made so much money throughout his career, but it would be kind of hard to stomach. It'd be hard for anybody to stomach just saying, okay, I'm just going to retire and I'm not getting what's left of that contract. Or would you? I don't know exactly how it works when you retire, what you get in your contract, whatever. That's not the point. This is just strange, man. It's strange because it seems like something is always happening to super teams. You've noticed it, right? I've talked about it. When super teams get together, something always stops them from reaching their true potential. You can go back to whatever you call a super team, but if we're just gonna go back to easy ones, 08 Celtics injuries, hell, the Miami Heat injuries, they wanted to win like 7. Even if they were kidding and they wanted to win 4, they only got 2. Then they ended up breaking up. Kevin Durant's Warriors only won 2. Injuries broke that up. So you're at the super team Nets now. Absolutely a super team. 3 of the best offensive players of all time. They looked so good that in last year's playoffs, for the little bit that they did get to play together, you were just kind of saying, okay, this team might not be great at defense, they might not be great at this, but they have 3 players that nobody can guard one-on-one, and that's probably going to be enough to win a championship. They're going to be one of the teams where you say they have a couple of players, they have a couple of versatile defenders that can plug in some holes, and that's all they need to win the championship. That's where it looked like it was going. That's where it looked like it was going this year. You come into this year with a healthy Nets and you say they're going to win the championship, especially if they get time together, because last year they weren't going to get time together. They weren't getting time together. Somebody was going out every other game. But this is an interesting situation that the Nets find themselves in. So right now, it looks to me like the most likely path is Kyrie Irving will play 41 games. I don't think the Nets want to trade him because you've got Kevin Durant there, you got James Harden. Kyrie is Kevin Durant's guy. And you just don't want to trade a player like Kyrie Irving. I get the sense that if they were really pushed to it and they could trade him, yeah, maybe you would, because I don't think a lot of people would argue in saying if you just play James Harden at point guard and let Kevin Durant play where he plays, and you get some decent assets for Kyrie, that's still a championship team. As a matter of fact, some people probably prefer James Harden playing the point and being able to dominate the ball with Kevin Durant roaming around, because one of the things that did happen when Kyrie and Harden were on the floor throughout the season together last year is it kind of felt like Harden was trying to find his way, like he was trying not to step on Kyrie's toes, pretty much like he was trying, like in the first half of games, like he was trying to figure out how to mesh with the guy. So you don't even have to figure that out if Kyrie isn't playing. I guess that's a positive if you can cash in pieces for him. You don't cash in pieces for him, which it looks like it's going to happen. He plays 41 games throughout the season. He is in and out of the lineup, and we don't exactly know what the future holds. We don't know what the playoffs are going to be like. I just got back from New York. I can tell you that they are taking Corona more seriously than anywhere I've ever been. I live in Florida. They just don't give a damn down here. In New York, it's a totally different world. So it's just from what I saw, I'm like, ooh, by the time the playoffs come around, I'm not sure if they're going to be any less strict. And so what if Kyrie is now missing home games in the playoffs? Assuming the Nets have home court advantage, misses the first 2 games. Things like that might matter if you're in a series with the Bucks. Of course, this time you have a healthy Harden, so maybe it's a little bit different, but all of a sudden, now it seems like if a team like Miami pans out this year, there's guys with matchup problems for the Nets that probably matter when you don't have 3 of the top offensive players to overcome it, you only have 2. It may matter then. Lineup without Kyrie Irving in it, I think it's pretty simple. You go Harden at the point guard, Harris at 2, Bruce Brown at 3, KD 4, and then whoever you want at 5. That 5 can be interchangeable. I'm not sure who they plan on starting. In 2K, they started LaMarcus Aldridge. I kind of think in real life, maybe they'll go Blake Griffin. That's what they did in preseason last night. Hell, my personal favorite, Nick Claxton, just for the defensive versatility that he can bring. But yeah, he doesn't, as opposed to the other 2 guys, he does not spread the floor. So maybe he'll add a 3-pointer to his game, but I think you can depend more on floor spreading from the other guys. Either way, they have lineups that they can use without Kyrie Irving at point. But championship teams are a lot of things. It's talent, but it's not just talent. And I will say, just like last year, it would have been the first time seeing a team like that win a championship, where they were at some points just painfully below average at defense. They got better at it as it was going on. However, that was about to be one of the most offensively heavy championships ever. The Warriors, when they won, they had great defense too. When they had Kevin Durant, one of the greatest offenses had one of the greatest defenses too. Nets were about to be one of a kind. They would probably be one of a kind here too, where you would say, all right, one of the main pieces is just right off rip gonna miss half the season and maybe half the playoffs too, and then you win it. You almost wonder, that's the situation if he's really going to retire. If he was traded, that's the situation that the Nets find themselves in. I think the more ideal situation, bro, trading Kyrie Irving is never ideal, but if you could, as a matter of fact, one interesting trade package that comes up, one picture that you see that people really laugh at is Ben Simmons. See Ben Simmons in the Brooklyn jersey, Kyrie in the Philly jersey, when ironically both teams kind of, I'm not about to sit here and say the Nets need Ben Simmons more than they need Kyrie, but when you look at it in the situation that they're in, they low-key do need defensive versatility more than they need another scorer. It's really just kind of piling on when you have Harden, KD, and Kyrie. It's I don't want to use the word redundant because it is a good thing, it does help, but all last year it was defense that we were talking about. It seems that most people feel Harden and Kevin Durant would still be a championship contender almost no matter what you put around them. All of a sudden you threw Ben Simmons into that mix. Now I'm assuming in that lineup he's probably going to be plugged in at a big man position. He'll be playing some 5 in that lineup for sure. There's no way you're gonna have him playing point guard. You could, but everybody kind of gets what they need then, because now all of a sudden the 76ers have a superstar offensive point guard who spreads the floor for Joel Embiid. Embiid can do the things he's more comfortable with. On the low, that I don't know if the salaries work, or if they could ever make those salaries work. On the low, that almost makes sense though for both squads, just in the situation that Brooklyn is in, because I'm going to guess they are probably, at least it's in the back of their mind that, hey, maybe we should make some calls, because trying to win a championship this way it's kind of screwy. If the threat of retirement wasn't hanging over them, I don't think that they wouldn't be looking for a trade. Either way, if you're asking what I don't think Irving is going to be traded. It really does feel like we're just gonna see this half measure. And so the half measure gives more of an offensive load back to Harden, except it just feels like that's kind of where the complication can happen, because now you have for half the season Harden playing like he used to in Houston, well, somewhat like he used to. Now he has Kevin Durant out there as well, so, but just from the terms of having a big offensive load, sometimes you have him doing that, then sometimes you have him trying to let Kyrie find his own shot. I don't like that. If I was a Nets fan, I would really want it to be one way or the other. I would either want Harden to be used to having the ball damn near all the time and working with Kevin Durant and good role-playing support pieces, or adjusting to play with Kyrie Irving. Having to do that back and forth, and then maybe for the playoffs too. There's a foot in the door for other teams then. But every squad has got something to figure out now, right? It's just preseason. Westbrook didn't look good last night, but it's just preseason. Still, I just made a Westbrook video. The Lakers are gonna have to figure out how, hey, LeBron has the ball in like the mid-range area on the right side. Westbrook is on the left wing. They're ignoring Westbrook. They're looking at LeBron. They're able to help better. Those are things that they'll have to figure out. Teams like the Warriors might be better than expected because Jordan Poole looks like he's about to be the best player in the NBA. There's a lot to figure out going into this season, and a ton of it really depends on Brooklyn, man. Brooklyn is the best fitting super team in the league. Whether you were coming into the season thinking the Lakers were a super team or not, that's definitely were, and they were the best fitting one. This does add some suspense to things, because I will say, if you have the big three all season in Brooklyn, I don't think there is much suspense. You have it for half and you're figuring these things out. I don't know. And I'm talking about it with the halfway measure and not him missing the whole season, because I just don't think there's a chance of that happening. If Brooklyn wasn't even going to try to trade him, they're not also then going to say, hey, just sit out the whole year. That doesn't really make much sense. If you can use Kyrie Irving at all and that's the situation you're forced into, I guess you do it. But as we sit here on the morning of October 9th, it does seem that Kyrie Irving is not getting the vaccine. And so this is just kind of what the season is going to be like. What do you think will happen with the Kyrie situation? Do you think that James Harden and Kevin Durant on this roster, just minus Kyrie Irving, would that be good enough to win a championship? Because remember that without Kyrie, that means they got no assets back. So that would mean they would still have some defensive holes to plug up while not having that third offensive superstar to make up for it. You think that would be enough? I will say they're not in as bad of a situation as it would have been last year, since they have Patty Mills now. It's not a Kyrie Irving replacement, but he is an NBA level point guard, a legitimate NBA level point guard. Great piece to a championship team. I don't think they had that at the point guard position last year without Kyrie Irving. You could have Harden play it full time, but they didn't even have that last year. So yeah, just let me know what you think. Hit the like button, comment, and sub, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. And this guy is really one of my favorite players to watch. I hate that we're being robbed like this. He came to Boston a couple of years ago, and that was a rocky thing. He barely played for us there. Now he's here, he's barely playing, and he is always one of the most exciting players to watch play. Also, I do not just randomly have a Kyrie doll. My brother took me to this NBA place as a belated birthday gift, and I saw this and I was like, hey, I'm making a Kyrie Irving video soon. So why not just have this as a prop? It adds nothing to the video, but